Good evening, everyone. Um, I must start with this two words, I must thank Rajdeep Sardesai for being a fearless journalist, and I have been an admirer of him. And people like him always gives juniors, like I'm junior to him, but I'm not very junior in the profession. More strength and hope that the real journalism exists. So, I mean, I have been seeing Rajdeep, I think, since mid 1990s, and that fire in the belly is still there. That's why he's been a very good reporter, excellent anchor, and brilliant political analyst. So I have many reasons to admire him, and I consider this as a privilege uh, to be with you in the session.
Can I return the compliment? Uh, Liz Mathew, for those who don't know, is a good old-style journalist of the kind this country needs more of. She did one of the best interviews of the 2024 elections with JP Nadda, where the BJP president admitted to Indian Express, where she works, that we don't need the RSS. And I thought that was a major admission and also influenced what happened in the end. But look, we can talk as journalists and friends.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there are all too few journalists left. Everyone is now a content creator. And unfortunately, there's fortunately, there's a large audience for content creators. So maybe more people will watch us if we were Instagrammers rather than writing books. But that is the nature of this world. But thank you very much again for having me here in Bengaluru. It's still one of the best cities in the world. Your weather could have improved. I thought we would have a much cooler evening, but thank you again for having me here at the festival. Maybe next time you should tell the organizers to give us bigger places in which we can converse.
Yeah. Rajdeep, you are seen as a journalist who has always taken a position against this regime. And there were instances of, you were heckled physically outside and also like on air. Um, can this book be a sum of and substance of that pent up anger? Or maybe, let me put it more mildly, like, can I see, or is this book something about that you could not express during your reporting?
That's a damn good question. I think compared to the 2014 and 19 books, I guess there's a little bit more anger this time. Because I think we should be angry. You know, if a government of the day, whichever government of the day, does not reveal the exact figures of how many Indians died during COVID, if the government of the day does not tell you where the money of PM Cares Fund went and who gave how much money, if the government of the day does not have, or as I call it, NDA equals no data available, if the government of the day does not tell you the facts which the people of this country have the right to know, then as journalists we have to ask those questions. I'm not anti a government. It's not a specific government. If any government did what they did, we should be asking questions. The problem is that the moment you ask questions, today you're seen as the angry young man, and I don't want to sound angry because I think writers cannot afford to be angry for too long, because then you can't step away from the book. So I think there is some element of anger, there's some element of disappointment, but there's also hope. Because Liz, if you read the book, the fact is that there is anger, for example, when an NDTV is taken over in the manner that it is. Since the Home Minister used those words, let me use those. Chronology samajhiye. You send ED, CBI raids, you prevent a person from leaving the country, force them into a position where eventually, without their knowledge, the company is taken over by India's first or second largest industrialist, and we journalists just watch. Any other country, there would be far greater anger in the manner in which it was done. In India, the process is the punishment. Last month, the same ED and CBI says, oh, we have found nothing against Prannoy Roy and Radhika Roy. After 8 years of torturing them, you found nothing. Now, if you don't get angry and if you don't reflect that anger in your book, then maybe we should all be in public relations. The whole essence of being a journalist is to say, tell truth to power, whoever is in power. It just so happens that the BJP is in power. You know, one of the things we forget, Liz, and you will know this better, is when the UPA was in power, you know, so many questions were asked of Dr. Manmohan Singh and his government. We took them to the cleaners every night. Nobody rang me up or nobody suspended my journalists for doing the journalism they did. Today, journalists are suspended. I've given the instances in the book. A journalist is suspended for decoding the Prime Minister's Baswada speech. The boy comes from Bengaluru. Nobody's going to stand up for him. In the middle of an election, you suspend a journalist for doing his job and we stay quiet. I wanted this book to tell these stories because India must know what happens. For too long, whether you like me or not, that I don't care. That's your prerogative. But मैं बोलूंगा. जब तक जान है, हम बोलेंगे. And now the time has come that neutrality and all doesn't work anymore. So this book is less neutral than the first two. And I think I am happier for it.
See, you have seen many administration. I think you have seen Rajiv Gandhi government, part of it, coalition experiments under VP Singh, later Chandrasekhar. You may have seen quote unquote weak Narasimha Rao or Dr. Manmohan Singh, who were not actually weak but castigated as weak. And there are periods where Vajpayee was in power. So tell me, what is the difference you are seeing in this government, which I think will be a tool to understand the changing political contours for any political student?
You know, I think, Liz, let's be clear also. This government has come at a time when the BJP is emerging as the dominant party of our times. And when the Congress is in seeming decline. I don't say ICU, because we are in Karnataka, which is Congress ruled. Mr. Rajiv Gowda is here, but there's certainly a party in decline. So, in a strange way, Mr. Modi has been there at the right place at the right time. A number of those individuals you mentioned faced extremely strong headwinds, whether they were coalition governments, whether they were governments, even majority governments like Rajiv Gandhi's government. But the truth of the matter is that this government has been a master at managing the narrative. Someone put an interesting explanation for why the BJP is so successful. They used a word called HIND. H for Hindutva, I for infrastructure, N for nationalism, D for delivery. And somewhere even in this gathering, someone or the other will find themselves in one of these four buckets. Either infrastructure, a lovely 4-lane highway has been built. Or you'll say Hindutva, it's time to assert ourselves as civilizational, cultural identity as Hindus. Or you will say, time has come to teach Pakistan a lesson. Ghar mein jaakar ghus ke maro, we are proud Deshbhakts. Or you'll say, delivery ho gaya, digital payments ho gaya, as if digital payments also has to be credited to governments. But digital payments ho gaya, Aadhaar aa gaya, in Maharashtra 1500 rupees came into a... Because now with technology, and the government has been very successful at that, and that's one difference. I think this government has understood the importance of communication, of narrative building, and also of technology as an instrument to deliver. Let's not deny Mr. Modi credit for winning over 2 decades without losing. That's quite an achievement. And you know, you've got to at one level, in an age of anti-incumbency, to defeat anti-incumbency is not easy. Mr. Modi has managed to scale up many of these delivery programs, welfare programs, and that is his strength. I think the religious polarization is troubling. The delivery of welfare benefits that he's able to do at the bottom of the pyramid is certainly one of his big strengths.
But the value of democracy is measured on the quality of institutions it has and the extent of trust the people have in it. Going by that, how do you measure the current dispensation? It is said that trust drives democracy and that terror drives fascism. So what is your view on it?
So I've said the good things.
Yes.
You know, the good things are out. We've done delivery, we've built infrastructure, we've created a sense of pride in the nation, all that very good in its own way. Now you're talking about what makes it deeply troubling and what should trouble all of us. The fact is, institutions are at the moment facing a democratic backsliding. Look at the way Parliament, which you cover on a daily basis, is being run. Look at the behavior of the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha and the speaker of the Lok Sabha. Look at the brazen partisanship of those people sitting in those constitutional offices. Look at the way the Election Commission of India has become an opaque body where they will not answer basic questions that are put to them. Look at the way agencies are used only in opposition ruled states and not in government ruled states. Are you telling me there is no money laundering going on in BJP ruled states? All the money that was used in the Maharashtra elections came out of thin air. But you see, the institutional decline and the lack of faith in institutions is what should trouble each and every one of us as Indians. Forget which party you belong to. Because now the worry is every party will use it even with greater brazenness. It's not as if the Congress didn't. The same CBI was called the cage parrot. Now the cage parrot was the CBI. Today the ED is a Rottweiler. And the Rottweiler is, can destroy lives, given the way the Prevention of Money Laundering Act is used. So the lack of trust, you're absolutely right, is a first step towards a democratic backsliding that can result in an electoral autocracy, which is why the 2024 elections was important. Eventually, the verdict which stopped the BJP at 240 and prevented this 400 par nara of becoming self-perpetuating was important. Because you cannot bulldoze your way, and I use the word bulldoze literally, cannot bulldoze your way into the lives of people and decide what will you eat, what will you wear, who will you marry. If you marry someone from another community, it becomes love jihad. All of this is, in my view, against the very idea of India. India is built on diversity. So I think that, to my mind, is where we should be challenging it. Forget which party you belong to. It should be challenged because institutional decline is what, Liz, I think will turn us into what some of our neighbors have become. Let's not be sanguine about democracy. We are not like Bangladesh. We are bad comparisons, Pakistan. We are not like Pakistan. Of course we are not. But we don't need to make the same mistakes that Pakistan did, where religion became the badge of identity of a nation. This is the greatest country in the world because of its diversity, not because of homogeneity. And because we accept each other, not tolerate, but accept each other. That's the greatness of being Indian. And that was being challenged, and that is continuously being challenged. And you and I should be concerned as Indians, whichever our political preferences are assigned. As Indians, so the trust of institutions provide me protection to say this. I can say this openly here. But over the years, a number of people who've spoken out have suddenly found themselves, including a young girl from this city, Disha Ravi, who I write about. I was cribbing about having sedition charges against me, and then there was this young innocent girl, Disha Ravi, a climate activist, who was taken by the Delhi police and put in jail. Why? Because she had a toolkit that she had forwarded on during the farmers' agitation. What can be more reprehensible? This is what is done in autocratic regimes, not in democracies. And you and I should be worried about it. Don't have the attitude that, it's happening to someone else, mujhe kya karna hai? That's the first way which fascism creeps into society. When we worry about what happens only when it happens to us. And that's why I feel very strongly that institutions have to protect us. You can't have police turning into the kind of hound dogs that they have at times, of whoever is in power in whichever state.
It is very evident that the Hindutva is used to mop up votes. There was a time journalists like you and even me to think that there is a threshold for it. We never thought that at one point of time that Ayodhya would actually garner votes beyond a point. But we suddenly this Hindutva politics has sprung back, and we are seeing that polarization is used even right from Prime Minister's speeches to every minister, and the party is using, very bluntly using. So do you, my view for this question is from what you have said just now. Do you fear that our democracy is going to face something like Pakistan or Afghanistan? The place, are we going to take that place? Do you have any such fears?
Look, as I said, we have to be on guard. But this is still a country very distinct to all these countries you just mentioned. There is something unique about the hawa of this country. Kisi ke baap ka Hindustan nahi. As Rahat Indori said. And you know, I say it because there is something truly unique about this country. And you know, I was just coming in from somewhere. There was a church on one side, there's a mosque on one side. This city, in a sense, represents this unique cosmopolitanism. I think it hasn't been articulated strongly enough by the opposition, which is a very weak and effete opposition, part of the problem. But as VP Singh once told me, Liz, many years ago, he said, I can fight everyone, I can't fight Ram. See, once you allow religion to enter politics, and we can discuss who allowed it, who opened the gates of the Babri Masjid, how was it allowed? No one is here to defend the Congress running with the secular hare and hunting with the communal hound. They made tons of mistakes, Shah Bano onwards. There's a litany of mistakes when the Congress was in power. Don't reduce this into the typical BJP Congress binary. Make it about India. We're celebrating 75 years of the Constitution. The Constitution is predicated on individual rights and freedom to practice your religion the way you want. That can't and cannot be allowed to change. So I think a challenge to that, I think we will survive while others won't, because I still think constitutionalism is a powerful antidote to those who use religion into politics. But it won't be easy. Because when I came into journalism in 1988, I remember I heard a slogan in 89 at an election rally, and I said, maybe that was my cosmopolitan education, but the slogan was, "Jo Hindu hit ki baat karega, wahi desh pe raj karega." And I thought to myself, it doesn't quite work with the Constitution, does it? Now today, what was seen as fringe is mainstream. I hear more and more people say it. I see polite gatherings also saying this. You know, somewhere, you know, the Muslims, Ghuspetia, you know, Rohingyas, you know, there is an attempt, the dog whistles carry on. Katenge to batenge. Ek hai to safe hai. What is ek hai to majboot hai? What is safe hai? Safe against whom? Who are you trying? I mean, you know, the bizarreness of it all. Think about it. If that RG car in Kolkata, if the rapist was a Muslim, look at the reaction that would have come. Look at the way television channels would have exploded on it. Thank God he was not. Now, are you going to define rapists also by the religion they come from? And then say, ek hai to safe hai. Ya batenge to katenge. What is this? 21st century India should be talking about quality of education. How am I going to provide better schools to every Indian? How am I going to provide better health facilities? We don't talk about that. So I think, Liz, there is a problem. Once religion enters politics, it is devastating. And I see this, you're right, as a challenge, which will, who knows, 10 years from now get even more challenging. But I still have faith in India. And I have faith in the intelligence of the average Indian. I would like to have, maybe. But there is somewhere. And I think this election gave me some hope that itna bhi sab bura nahi. I wish we had a better opposition, frankly. You know, it would make things a little easier. But even for it's not easy being an opposition leader in India, because if the ECI won't get you, the ED will. And you know, it can't be easy having the ED at your door throwing notices. I'm not saying they're not guilty, they may well be. But are you telling me seriously that only that out of all the politicians investigated by the ED, 95% are opposition leaders? And what happens with the washing machine? That when you switch sides, and I have a full chapter there which I think is important for each of you to read. You know, hamare paas ED hai, washing machine. The moment you switch sides in my home state of Maharashtra, everyone is sleeping well. All the guys who are under ED scanner, just think about it. There should be a due process of law. So there are lots of challenges, and these challenges will multiply. My fear is all of us are living our lives on our own. We are too busy with the traffic of Bangalore and the day-to-day wear and tear of life to worry about democracy. But I still think democracy is worth fighting for. I hope so.
Okay, I'll ask one more, then I'll leave it to the audience. You have talked about Rahul Gandhi in your book, you know, how he has become, a crusader for anti-establishment crusader, and also like how Bharat Jodo Yatra had, transformed him, into a leader who is, counted as a leader. How do you assess Rahul Gandhi post 2024 results as a leader of opposition?
You know, Liz, in both my first two books, I wrote a line that would result in audiences like this laughing. That line was, Rahul Gandhi has never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity. And to some extent, that still holds true. 2024 was an opportunity to build on the momentum. To go out there, be in the field, mobilize your troops. Narendra Modi and Amit Shah are ruthless, relentless, remorseless, resource-rich. You're facing one of the biggest machines in the biggest machine in the history, election machine in the history of post-independent India. It's a Ferrari. Now you can't compete with a Ferrari by acting like you're a Fiat, right? An old style Fiat. So you can't just come before elections, wave your hands once or twice. It won't work anymore. You can't be a political philosopher saying power is poison. Power is not poison. If power is a poison, please do something else other than power, right? So Rahul Gandhi wants to be a political philosopher, a dreamer. He's a fifth generation dynast. He therefore becomes in a way the perfect opponent for Narendra Modi. But I still think let's give Rahul Gandhi a break on the 2024 election campaign. I think he was out there. He should have sustained it post 2024. There is no substitute to being with the people. Bharat Jodo Yatra became an event. Eventually, a party is run by organization and strategy. So if Rahul Gandhi wants, he has to be out there day after day, taking his message to the people. And if he can't do it, let someone else do it. Because, why should only one individual or family determine the quality of the opposition in this country? This is a 1.4 billion people country.
Since we don't have much time left, there is, please be brief.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, you spoke about how institutions have been infiltrated by the current regime. You also spoke about how Congress had CBI as the gauge parrot and today ED has been used. When we have these examples where the previous government also did this, the current government also is doing this, and I had a conversation with one of the
What's your question?
Yes, I'm coming to that. And he said that we will be worse if we come to power. So when we know that our ruling governments will infiltrate institutions, how are we going to believe that the next government, if it comes to power, will be better than the previous one?
No, there is, that's exactly what I said. You're on a slippery slope. Because once one government knows how to use the instruments of power, it's not as if the other government won't use it. It's not as if before 2014 the media was not at various times sought to be muzzled, right? But now you've realized how you can muzzle the media perhaps more effectively. Using government power, using enforcement agency power. You can do it. So the next government will do it even more effectively, possibly. So it's a slippery slope. You see, the worst thing we can do is I hear in audiences like, oh, but 1975, Indira Gandhi brought the emergency. Why? We are in 2024. I'm not interested in what happened in 1975. You tell me what you're going to do over the next 20 years. I am worried about India of today, not India of yesterday. So I think all these arguments, next government, okay, why was the Congress voted out? Because they were seen as corrupt, or seemingly that was the perception. They were voted out. We voted you to bring difference. Please bring the difference that you promised. Are you telling me corruption has really got less in this government? The stories that you hear, where is the money coming from? From thin air? The money comes from somewhere. Every MLA in Maharashtra, and they'll tell you off the record, had 50 crores to spend only in the last week to to buy votes. 50 crores plus every MLA. Where's the money coming from? And if I ask the question, I become anti-national. And you'll say it serves me right, or you'll go on Twitter and troll me.
Hi, Rajdeep.
Hello.
Hello.
We can solve the question of reducing buying of votes. Everywhere I see, they all buy votes and you come into power. How can we solve that situation?
I have no answers, man. But I think, there are no answers. You ask a question which is at the heart of the distortion of our democracy today. The use of money power across parties. Whoever is in power is increasingly using money to prevent a level playing field. And there is no level playing field as a result. You remember in school we had a lime and spoon race. Imagine in a lime and spoon race, if one person in the 100 meters lime and spoon is at 80 meters and you're at 0, has got 100x the money that you have. How do you have level playing field? These are questions which have to be answered by an institution, not by us. They have to think about this. These are the real electoral reforms, not one nation, one election. How will you reduce money power that is being misused during elections? So I have no answers, man.
Why do you think?
Hi, Rajdeep. Pravesh this side. Hello.
Yes.
Hi. So, you mentioned about, MLAs spending 50 crores, right? And since you are a journalist, I don't see, any TV channels, any news channels doing program on politicians spending crores and crores of rupees in elections, and we don't talk about the illegitimate practices being done by all these politicians. I see the conversations is more about legitimizing those expenditure and all these unethical practices. So, and then the other question I have is more about the lack of investigative journalism that we see today. I see a 24-year boy doing investigative journalism and writing a detailed report for Karma and other forums, but in mainstream media, I see that completely missing.
Sir, I'm not here to defend journalism, but it's very easy for me to, very easy to say, why don't you expose, let's say, money, power, and politics? Not easy. The system is, these are things people will say in private conversations to you. They're not going to come publicly and say, I spent 50 crores on an election campaign. So it's not easy. You're absolutely right, though. For example, electoral bonds. Liz's paper did a number of stories on electoral bonds in the end, and just to find out the nexus between those who paid the bonds and the benefits they got. There's only so much you can do, but if society itself, or you're absolutely right, if the media realized what its responsibility was, I think every government would be then at least held more accountable. It's not happening. The story of the media deserves another book, which one day I can write after I've retired, because then you can name names. At the moment, it's not easy to name names.
Rajdeep,
Yes, sir.
Change in topic. So what's your gut feeling on why are exit polls going wrong these days everywhere?
Okay, so I start the book with my friend exit pollster Pradeep Gupta, with whom I used to dance when we got it right. I think that's the mistake we made. We made asses of ourselves by doing that. But the truth of the matter is, look, we are a 97 crore country size, electoral size. Assume 65 crores vote. Even the best of pollsters like Pradeep has a sample size of 1,000 per constituency. Multiply by that 543. That's 5,43,000. It should be enough to get it right. We shouldn't have gone so wrong. But maybe the voters also don't trust pollsters. They don't trust media. They don't trust pollsters. They don't tell the truth. And many fly-by-night pollsters have come who are turning this into a business opportunity. Not doing it with seriousness and the credit. But it's very difficult to poll in a country like India. Very difficult. And now there are multiplicity of parties also, independents. How will you poll in Haryana which independent will get how many votes? It's almost impossible now.
Sir, there was a wave of anti-incumbency across the world in 2024 with UK, USA, in Argentina as well. How big of a factor do you think that was for Narendra Modi's government to lose its outright majority as compared to all the domestic issues that it caused?
No, let's give Mr. Modi credit. He survived. You see, he wasn't wiped out like a Rishi Sunak. He didn't lose like Kamala Harris. And I think that says a lot about the quality of the opposition. But I think one of the reasons why they came down to 240 was partly Samvidhan Khatre mein hai struck a chord, particularly among Dalit groups. What Liz did in her interview when she got the BJP president to say RSS ki zarurat nahi hai. I don't think the RSS got as fully involved in some of the key states, which made a huge difference, UP, Maharashtra being examples of it. But, my belief is post-COVID across the world, people have suffered. Incomes have gone down, jobs have suffered. It isn't an easy period for anyone. So therefore, that reflects in what's been happening across the world. People post-COVID are either angry, fatigued with whoever is in power. And even those in power don't have solutions. Does anyone across parties have solutions to India's job crisis? And it is a huge crisis. How are you going to make the young employable? Now, I think these are all challenges and these should have a reasoned debate. But there is no debate on this. Instead, the debate is, oh, you are Soros's man, you are Adani's man. I mean, the quality of the discourse is so low now that no one addresses the real issues anymore.
Sir,
Since it is the last session, I am going to stretching it a bit and giving him.
Rajdeep, how much can we trust the Election Commission of India and the EVM machines? Because all the circus that we talk about and do, ultimately they are the ones who are going to help who are the winners. How much can we trust them?
Look,
And you didn't mention much about EVMs in your book.
no, what's your, I didn't mention about the EVMs because I didn't go into the election commission. I think that's a weakness that maybe because the election commissioner was not willing to be interviewed, but I should have started one of the chapters with the election commission. Look, the election commission faces a trust deficit. It's not as if EVMs, any engineer that you meet tells you, most engineers tell you EVMs are standalone machines that are tough to hack unless you replace them. However, the VVPAD has a symbol loading unit, and that symbol loading unit is connected to a centralized unit, and therefore it is possible, some believe, to perhaps fix the system. But you see, you can't have this argument based on the fact when I lose it's EVM, when I win it's not EVM. Because that also is a very poor argument that the opposition makes. But across the world, more and more democracies are moving away from EVMs back to the ballot. I mean, it is possibly something that eventually this country will also have to think. But who's going to do that debate? Where is that debate? Is the Supreme Court going to say it? The Supreme Court has given a clean chit.
I don't think booth capturing happens.
So, no, whether look, I've seen booth capturing in the early 1990s. It's not as if we are, that's why it's not as if the ballot box is foolproof in any country either. But I think there is a need to see how can we improve the present system. You see, this cannot be the attitude. EVMs cannot be hacked, therefore no change can take place. I think there is a serious trust deficit. I'll give you a real example. Just think about this. Between June and October of 2024, in 5 months, 40 lakh new voters have been added in Maharashtra. In the previous 5 years, 32 lakhs were added. Where did the 40 lakh voters come from in 5 months? Now, asking this question doesn't mean that I'm saying that something has gone wrong with this, but at least give me an explanation. So in the absence of an explanation, I believe the worst. And I think that is why the system needs to address itself. Hopefully it will. You will need some kind of election audit after every election possible.
So while you spoke about him being a factor in influencing victory, what I want to understand is why do you think there's a rise of identity politics? Like larger than oneself, let it be at the center, let it be at the stage, it's that one person, cult-based politics, and also being in a coalition feels more weaker. It's like I need a person who can take decisions.
Oh, absolutely. I like it. You're a young man who understands what strongman politics is, but it's happening across the world. You mentioned identity politics. Look, it's interesting that the rise of Hindu fundamentalism has also coincided with the rise of Islamic radicalism. Both, in a sense, have sort of run parallel paths. It's almost as if they're two sides in a way of the same coin. That someone will focus on their sense of Hindu identity versus someone who says I'm part of a larger Islamic ummah. So you have all of these sort of feeding on each other over the last 30 years. The strongman comes in because I think what happened between 2004 and 14, especially between 2009 and 14, Indians got tired of the coalition politics. You had 25 years of it. I've often said Narendra Modi was at the right place at the right time. You see, he had Rahul Gandhi as one opponent and Manmohan Singh as the other. So to Manmohan Singh, he contrasted himself as Chappan ki chhati, and to Rahul Gandhi, he said Namdar versus Kamdar. And it worked perfectly. It was the perfect moment to play that kind of politics because there's a huge younger generation which said, forget all these coalition politicians fighting with each other. We need one man who's going to come and fix it. So along comes someone like a knight in shining armor, very good at communication, very good at narrative building, who tells young India, अच्छे दिन लाएंगे. Then it changes to New India लाएंगे. Now it is Viksit Bharat लाएंगे. First it was 2024, now it is 2047. I don't know how many of us will be alive then, but we will have our Viksit Bharat by then.
Started talking about 1,000 years also.
And now he started talking about 1,000 years. And one journalist did a half-an-hour interview. Tell us what India will look like in 1,000 years. For half an hour. During the elections. I mean, it's bizarre almost. But there are enough people here who will buy it. We are entering a gilded golden age. And the moment you get it, and political, once you win an election, then everything else is forgotten. The fact that you had the slowest economic growth rate in several quarters will be forgotten. Chunav jeet gaye. Everything is now about Chunav. Once you won चुनाव सब कुछ excuse है, सब कुछ माफ है. That's the danger.
Sir, all these politicians who pour so much money in election and struggle so much to reach parliament, once they reach there, they don't want to work. Do you think parliament is losing its importance? क्या ये सिर्फ औपचारिकता रह गई है?
No, first of all, I'll say politicians work hard. Please do not, I have seen Parliament has got caught in this hyper-polarization. But to be a Lok Sabha MP is not easy. I mean, your North Bengaluru MP has a 30 lakh constituency. I mean, it's crazy. No other country in the world has such a large constituency to cater to. In UK, the average constituency is 7,000, 8,000. So there's a direct connect. Everybody comes to your house. Somebody wants nursery school admission. Someone wants drainage. You have reduced MPs also to municipal councillors. मेरे घर के बाहर खड्डा है, please do something. मेरी बेटी को admission चाहिए, please. Being an MP is not easy. And most of them work very, very hard. So, we also tell that सब नेता चोर है. नहीं है यार. Many of them want to work very, very hard. And I have a chapter in the book called Stories of Hope. I mean, think about it. Which other country in the world will have someone like Sanjana Jatav, Dalit 26-year-old mother of two, defeated a big minister, defeated someone who was the chief minister's candidate. She didn't have tons of money, but she won. And there are many such examples. Maybe we need more. But truth of the matter is India is a 50-50 country. So there's lots wrong with us. But there is a little bit right also. And therefore you live in hope. I mean, let's not diss our MPs. Many of them do work hard. Many of them, unfortunately, also betray their mandate. And I feel we should have a right to recall.